start out by saying I have the greatest time ever when I play with Vic, because we can go in any direction at any point, any moment. It doesn't matter. I'm confident in him as my friend first, that I know he's not going to just leave me out there. So we're going to have a great musical conversation, and I know that whatever's going on, it's going to come out great, because I trust him. I hope he trusts me, so it's going to be good. And that's what a friend of ours called, what do you call it, unconscious knowing?
Yeah.
You know, that's sort of like living in a room where you're unconscious of what's going to happen, meaning you don't know what's going to happen. That's like me and Vic. We rode over here, hung out in Mr. Newberry's office. We never talked about what we were going to play. So we unconsciously got up here to play some music together, but we knew that the end result was going to be a beautiful piece of music, which is what that was. You know? But we're just having fun. And I'm thankful that at this point in my life, I've learned how to play with musicians. Because a lot of times when we're younger and we're practicing, we're concentrating so hard on playing to the best of our ability and playing fast and learning the rudiments. And, you know, we want to be good at what we do. We want to do our thing, like they say. Well, we concentrate so much on practicing the instrument that when we get in front, or excuse me, not in front, but with other musicians, guess what we sound like? Like we're practicing. So I always say, if you're going to practice for an hour, you should jam with a band for 2 hours. Because if you don't, that's what you're going to sound like when you finally get with the band. It's like you got the band hostage. And you can see a lot of examples on that on YouTube. There'll be a bunch of drummers playing, and the band is just sitting there laying down this groove, and it's nice, but the band never gets to do anything. They're just holding it down so the drummers can have a battle or whatever. But that's not playing music with people. The greatest experience that you can have is playing music with people who speak the same language as you. You know, when Victor takes a solo, or if he's got the melody, I know how to step back. But that's something that I had to learn. And I didn't learn it from being in a practice room locked up by myself playing with a metronome. That's good. Your strongest weapon you have as a musician is your sense of time, yes. But more importantly is your musicality. What are you going to do in the situation? You know, we all hear when we get on the plane, and this is what you need to do in case of a loss of cabin pressure, you do this. Well, what are you going to do when you're in a situation? You know? And that's the same thing musically. We got to know when to get out the way and let that person speak. When I first played with Victor, I was like Hong Kong Fooey on steroids. Just all kind of chops, everything, because finally I'm playing with a musician who's playing the same things that I've been practicing. You know, Victor is the most musical and percussive bass player that I know. So that means he doesn't really need me. He just needs me to really play the music. And when he's playing, just move out his way and let him speak. It's like a conversation. If all of us start talking at the same time, it's not going to mean anything. But if we let that person speak and then we speak, now we're having a conversation, a meaningful conversation. And if we did more of that in this world, can you imagine what could happen? You talk, let me speak. Well, Russia, you talk, now let us talk. Or whatever. You know, I'm just saying, dialogue is what we need everywhere. Do you hear your mom and dad speaking to you? Are you hearing them, or are you just hearing them and letting it go on one end or out the other? If they say clean your room now, are you going to clean it now, or are you going to do it when you want it? If they say finish those college applications, are you going to do it now, or are you going to wait till it's too late? You know, if my wife says, Derico, I don't need you to play single stroke rolls at quarter note equals 200 right now. I need you to take out the trash. Okay, honey, I will. But she's saying that to me because she needs me to do something for her. You know, am I hearing her, or am I just letting her know, yeah, okay, I got it. So, I mean, that's what we need more of, especially on stage. And I've learned that in my life, and it's because of Victor. Just telling me, man, you could be one of the greatest drummers ever if you just learn how to play musically. You got all the chops and the speed and all that stuff, but, man, and just breathe. Or like Dizzy Gillespie say, man, if you stop all that stuff, maybe some music will fall out. You know? So I'm thankful that I'm at that point in my life. I've played with Victor for 11 years now. It's the greatest experiences of my life. He keeps calling me back. I keep going. And you know, it's great because we trust each other. We talk off stage. We never talk about music, really. We talk about life. He's got kids. I got kids. He knew me before I had kids and a wife. You know, so I'm watching him going, so that's how you do it. Okay, cool. You know, but now, at this point in my life, man, it's so much about the music that I'm at a point where I can always get better. But I know when I go up there, I'm going to have fun, and I hope that the people are going to enjoy themselves. And you know, that comes from really, if you can let your ego operate at its minimum, you'd be surprised at what can happen on stage, and you'd be surprised at the reception you get. If a person tells you they're humble, they're probably not. Run away from them. That's an act of showing, like love. You can't tell somebody you love them all the time but never show it. You know, you have to do it. You know, so at this point in my life, I'm thankful that I've learned how to play music with people. And that's because of this man that was gracious enough to give our own. We played the Friday before Memorial Day every night. This is our first day off. So he could be sleeping right now, but you know, he runs base camps in Nashville. So, you know, let's take advantage of this moment and really let's have a conversation about some music. So I'm going to stop talking.
Thanks, Derico. Derico has become probably the most musical drummer that I know. And I think I'll say that was the thing that I saw in him when I first met him at a high school in Michigan. And I always fight. I haven't been as vocal as I am now. Since my mom's passing, I have taken on some of her qualities. And it was a conscious effort. And my mom would tell you what you needed to hear. She would tell you, say, you may not like it. And I'm not telling you because you're going to like it. I'm telling you because you need to hear it. You know, and so I've taken on some of those qualities. And the main thing I did with Derico was when we first played together at that high school, I mean, I could just see it. He knew my music better than me. He's got perfect pitch or near perfect pitch, at least closer than I do. And I could just see that he had the gift, you know. And so it was either, but he overplayed. He totally overplayed. You know, it was like the whole new, I don't know if it's here, but what we call church drumming. Or church gospel chops is what we call it. I mean, you know, we used to have music that we called fusion, which was like Weather Report, Return to Forever. It seems to me that whole fusion scene has moved into the church. And now, at least, I hope I don't sound racist, at least in black churches, a lot of people go just for the music. You know, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but that's where it's at. And some of the best musicians that you're hearing today are coming out of that. But a lot of the drummers just overplay, bass players too, just overplay. It's like, wow. And Derico in my head was one of those. But I was like, man, this dude is amazing. If he could just hold it back a little, like as a person who knows a lot and has studied a lot and just wants to throw out big words because they can. Not because you need to hear them or you need to say it, just because you can. And I remember we went to dinner after this one clinic we did, and I was fighting, like, do I say something? Do I not? Yeah, well, he deserves somebody to tell him, and if I don't tell him, somebody else that's meaner than me might tell him. And a lot of times, sometimes you get told something the wrong way. You can, a musician could quit just because of that, So I was fighting, how do I say it? So finally at dinner I said, Derico, because it was our second time playing. We did a clinic just like this. Oh, not a clinic, but a concert, right? Just a duo concert. And Derico videoed it, I think. And I just said, Derico, when you watch this video, I said something to the effect of like, act like you and I are talking together. And I said something to the effect of, pay attention to what you do every time I start to talk. And that was it. It was like immediately he got it. He just said, oh man, it was like the light bulb went off and he got it. And in my opinion, he was a different drummer from that point on. And one of my favorite drummers is a guy named J.D. Blair. Skinny guy who understands space and not playing more than any other musician that I know. I told Derico, I said, if you could really pay attention to what J.D. does and add that to your plan, I told him that day, I said, you will be the greatest drummer in the world. And he really did it. And he's so musical. And now we can converse a whole lot better. We couldn't do what we just did the first night. But now it's so much fun. You know, we're really listening. The biggest part of music, in my opinion, and this is the neglected part, is the listening part. Right? We all know we have to become good listeners, but how do you practice? Where are the exercises? Who sits at home and practices listening? Do bands practice listening to each other? We always practice playing. But playing is like talking. You don't know what to say unless you listen first, you know? And Derico, he already had the ears, but now he's just using them to the utmost, you know? And he's the most fun to play with. And you can see why. That's why we can stop at the same time, start at the same time. That's all because of listening. Not just listening to yourself, but listening, and not only even listening to the other person, but accepting what the other person does as okay. He doesn't feel like he has to tell me what to do. He can, and vice versa, but we are accepting what he gives me. If he hits a loud snare on beat 1, that means something to me. Snares are loud on 2 and 4. A snare on 1 means something. You know, so I'm listening to that. You know, and we respond to each other. And the thing is that it sounds like magic or something, but it's not. We all do it when we talk. It's no different than having a conversation with your friend. You don't dictate beforehand what your friend's going to say to you. You don't tell them what to say, how to respond. You just listen. And there's no way for you to talk back unless you listen to his or her response. It is no different in playing music. And so, you know, you don't really have to become a good listener. You already are. You just have to use what you have and make it better, you know. And that's really, in my opinion, the biggest key to being a good musician is how well you listen. And I will say, I'll add one more thing to that, is not only how well your ears are, but how fast you react to what you hear. That's the thing. You know, we have a lot of ear training exercises. We don't have enough ear training exercises that happen in real time. You know, music happens in real time, and most of us practice out of time. We do ear training with intervals. Oh, that's a major third. That's a sixth. That's okay, but it needs to happen right here. So how do we get the real time and speed up that reaction time? You know, and one of the things I always urge musicians, I work with a lot of bass players and guitar players, and a lot of times we can't even start the class because everybody's tuning up. It takes too long. I said, you need to practice tuning. It should be a matter of seconds. Your instrument should be in tune, right? But the real way to tune is during a song, right? What happens when you got to tune during a song? You know, and we do an exercise where a bass player is grooving, and he has to close his eyes, and we can untune one of his strings. He has to quickly figure out which one it is, and without losing the groove, tune it. You know. And that comes from listening and being able to do it quickly. So anyway.